we're going to solve fraction equations with multiplying and dividing. The steps for solving any kind of fraction equations, we want to make a 1 on the denominator of any whole number. Okay, a whole number means like a 3, a 4, a 5, anything that's not a fraction. That's always kind of our first step. The second step we want to do is multiply through by the reciprocal to both sides. This will work always, okay, always. You will never, as long as you feel confident with this, you are confident with solving fraction equations. Let's do a couple examples. If I have 2/5 x equals 4, what's my first step, class? Put a 1 over the 4, according to my first step here. My second step is I'm going to multiply both sides through by the reciprocal. Reciprocal again meaning just flip the top and bottom. I'm going to multiply this side by 5/2 and this side by 5/2. Now why do we do that? Because this amazing thing happens. Everything cancels out. I'm left with x. Let me cross simplify. And I get x is equal to 2 times 5, top times top, over bottom times bottom, which is 10 over 1, which is 10. All right, looking at this next example, 3/4 x equals 6. My first step, I'm going to turn my 6 into a fraction, 6 over 1. Moving this little box thing. Oh, come on. Okay, my second step, I'm going to multiply both sides through by the reciprocal. What is reciprocal? It is flipping the top and bottom. Now again, keep in mind, why do I do this? Oh yeah, to get everything away from x. I'm left with x is equal. Now I'm going to cross simplify. 3 and 6 share a factor of 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now I'm going to go top times top, 2 times 4, over bottom times bottom. That turns into 8 over 1, which turns into 8. All right, now we're going to start something a little more different. We might get something where we get 2 fractions on both sides, and it looks really intimidating. But again, we just do the same thing that we have done before. We just multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So when I have something like this, 1/4 x equals 7/8. Now I have my strategy that I multiply both sides by 4 over 1. Cross simplify. 4 and 8 share that factor of 4. I turn this into, what, 7 times 1 over 2 times 1, which is 7 over 2, which is 3 and 1/2.
You got 4 and 1/2.
Okay, my next step, I'm going to do one more example. If I have 1/5, let me see if I have a better example. There we go. Yeah, I want this example. Oops. I'll just kind of hide that one. Okay, I want 3/5 x is equal to 2/5. What is x? Well, what's the first thing I should do, class? Class, what's the first thing I should do?
3 over 5.
Yeah. So I should times through by 5 over 3. This cancels out. The 5 and 5 cancel out. And I get x is equal to 2. This turns into 1. 2 times 1 over 1 times 3. 2 over 3. Yes. Yeah. We might also have something that looks like this, where you have 1/3 is equal to -5x. And that looks a little confusing because not only do you have a negative number, but a whole number is connected to it. And you know right away, this is, again, reminder, solving for x, you're always doing the opposite. So in your head, you might be thinking, Well, that's negative 5 times x. How do I move times? I divide. But we want to make this, since we have a fraction here, we want to turn this into a fraction because we want to be able to apply reciprocals. So I'm just going to rewrite that. And I'm going to rewrite it as negative 5 over 1 times x. Another thing I want to let you know, I don't like my x on the right-hand side, so I turn my x right away to the left. I don't care if you do or not. My brain just works better with my x being on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to times through by 1 over negative 5. This all cancels out, and I get my x is equal, I can't cross simplify it all, so I get 1 times 1 over 3 times negative 5, 1 over negative 15. That should help you with any kind of problem that you have in your 5.8 homework. Now we're going to practice a whole bunch of different strategies. And we're going to do a mixed review. So I want you to solve for x on this one. All right, looking at this one, I want you, this really applies your skills, that you know when am I going to need a common denominator, when am I going to flip things, when am I going to go just bottom plus bottom or bottom times bottom and top times top. You have to realize that if you're adding and subtracting, you need a common denominator. So that's going to be my first thing here. Since I'm saying x minus 3/5, I know that I'm going to be adding to move it. So I know my first step, I need a common denominator. I'm going to choose a different color. So I want to find a common denominator of 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. Now I'm going to rewrite this. This turns into x minus 12 over 20 is equal to 5 over 20. How do I move minus, class? How do I move minus?
Plus.
X is equal to 5 over 20 plus 12 over 20, which turns into 5 plus 12 over 20, and that turns into 17 over 20. Okay, I want you to do this one. All right, look in here, I'm going to multiply and divide. Multiplying and dividing means it's reciprocal. So I'm going to turn this into 3 over 1. To get rid of it, I multiply both sides by the reciprocal. 1 over 3, 1 over 3. Cancel, 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 cancel. Left with x is equal. I cannot cross simplify. So now I'm going to go x is top times top over bottom times bottom. 2 over 21. One more example. X plus 4/5 is equal to 3/10. Looking at this one, x plus 4/5 is equal to 3/10. Since I'm adding or subtracting, I know I need a common denominator. So my common denominator is going to be 10. 5 times 2 is 10, so 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to rewrite. I always rewrite. Some of you don't, I do. I rewrite because, whoops, it keeps me organized. Now some of you got a positive 1/2 when you did this, and I want to show you why it is not. So make sure. So keeping in mind that since I'm plusing 8/10, I'm going to have to subtract 8/10. When I subtract 8/10, I am subtracting it from this fraction here. So that's the fraction that should always be first. So I'm going to say x is equal to 3/10, take 8/10 away. It's not 8/10 minus 3/10. I keep this fraction, I keep there. So now I go x is 3 minus 8 over 10, negative 5 over 10, negative 1/2.
You didn't say which is.